And to the first temperature check. So the road's temperature was 31.1, and the rear temperature, surface temperature of the tire was 29.2. When I checked the front, it was 29.4. So this was a regular, just sunny Sunday morning. This was right around the 7 a.m. mark, 7:30 a.m. mark. Not very hot yet. So right off rolling temperatures 29 and rear pressures 36 and front pressure 32. So the next one that we're going to see is the first 1 kilometer ride. I wouldn't be going very quickly because it's a neighborhood and my exhaust is not very soft as well. So it's just start up, roll, and then take it easy. So here, right at the 1 kilometer mark, I pulled out the temperature again. Road's temperature still the same, 31 Celsius. The rear temperature actually jumped up from 29 to 36, so that's about a 7-degree jump. And the front increased from 29 to 38. So that's about a 9 Celsius jump. And most manufacturers always say that the newer tires always come up with, quicker warm-up temperatures due to the compounds and whatnot. So I was just curious to see how much it actually jumps within the first kilometer. And at our next stop, which is 18 kilometers, with a bit of high speed on the highway, we'll see how much it increases then.
Morning. I'm good. Sorry I'm late. Breakfast on me. Yes. Now we're at the second stop, which is about an 18-kilometer ride on the highway. Surface temperature is at 31. 51. And the rear temperature actually jumped up from 36 to 51. So that's a significant, maybe about 15 Celsius jump. And then the front was from 38 to 48. So it was plus 10 Celsius. On this ride as well, I was riding with my buddy Shera. Um, he is currently on the S22s. Not hot, no? And this is just the baseline because he was waiting for me for quite a while. 34.
Maybe I was waiting here for half an hour lah.
2 breakfast, bro.
So maybe it's a funny note, but sometimes we need to make it up when we make errors.
36.
In terms of tire pressure, the rear actually jumped up from 36 to 39. So that's plus 3. And then for the front, it was 32 to 35, also plus 3 psi. Again, these numbers are not fantastic, accurate representations of the character of the tire, but it's just a rough guideline, to try and understand what kind of pressures increase and how the surface temperature and the pressures come into play when we ride the motorcycle.
Oh, that was a nice bike, right?
I old already, so I gotta do like that. I can't bend anymore.
Actually, I want to get a R90.
That's good.
I think I want, maybe this year I'll sell this and get the one.
Okay.
I also want a chill.
This is the best.
Good to go?
Alright, right safe.
Take care.
See ya.
This is the famous RV point for most bikers. I forgot to check the surface temperature, but just looking at the surface temperature, it also roughly around 48. It dropped to 42. The thing that I was noting here is that his tire, his S22s and my Power 6 was running around the same temperature in that 25 kilometers to the RV point.
31, 2, 3, 4. 4. right at this starting point, a few mental notes. I was just trying to accelerate and brake to see how it feels. So immediately it also felt very much closer to the GP2. Not significant difference. I initially thought that from the GP2 to the Power 6, there would probably be a 20 to 30% variance in terms of feeling, but I felt it was very identical. Going to the first few turns into this first section of Ulu, I was expecting to hit some rough surfaces just to see how it feels, and then probably try to unsettle the bike as well. So right here, some rough surfaces on the left, trying to feel it, going over the white lines. It was very planted. It was very planted, it was very stable, so that gave me a little bit more confidence to try. So in this upcoming left turn, I know that the shoulder is quite rough. I immediately shot for that, but still the same thing. I did not feel any iffy moments. I did not feel any loss of grip. I did not feel the tire hopping around. So I just held my line and went through it. Even on the speed breakers like this, you know, if your tires are a little bit harder or your tires are worn out, you would feel that ricochet or the feedback from the handlebar. But on the Power 6, I was running 32 coal, and I think it went up to about 35. It didn't feel too upsetting to the bike. So it's really just very much like the GP2. I would probably call it a generic term. The generic term that I would call is probably a point and shoot tire. So you just go where you want to go, look where you want to go, hold the throttle, manage your speeds, and just point and shoot, point and shoot, point and shoot. So here's that second section leading up to the waterfall. This section is pretty famous for wet spots, and on my worn out Power 5s, these white lines were very intimidating. The bike would feel like it was a little bit loose on the rear wheel, it would feel like it was sliding or hopping. So here I was just crisscrossing on those white lines, things that you might not normally do on a daily basis, but I definitely don't recommend it. Again, I'm just doing this for testing purposes, and I roughly know what I'm doing. I was also in the position to recover if anything goes wrong. So really just be careful and ride within your own limits. As you can see at the peak of this climb, it is still dampy roads. Going down, this downhill section is also dampy roads. Again, I was still trying to hit those white lines, and we know that the recipe for damp roads and white lines is normally disaster. But the most confidence-inspiring part of this tire is that it just does exactly what you want it to do and what you ask of it. So that's the fantastic part that I feel. And again, I said earlier as well, I thought that it would be a 20 to 30% variance from the GP2, but I was totally wrong. In fact, it felt very close to the GP2. The only difference that my amateur self can point out is one compound is softer, one compound is harder. So if we're looking at the road, right, we're looking at riding on streets, it is very critical to pick the right type of tire that will suit your riding, right? If you want to put a GP2 and use it as a daily tire, that's fine. Anyone can do that. But if your pocket may not be able to sustain that kind of application, then it's much better to just go with a 100% street tire for your intended daily commutes and weekend rides. So now as we come into the best part of Uluyam, let's take a look at some of the specs from Michelin's website. So Michelin Power 6 is the latest and newest tire from Michelin's second generation, I would say. So in this generation, they also have the GP2. The Power 6 and the GP2 was launched together, with the Power 6 being a 100% street tire and the GP2 being a 50-50% sport tire. And what you get from the Power 6, the latest Power 6, is maximized grip for optimal control, sporty handling and agility, which is what we felt in the tire as well, probably a little bit more different from the previous Power 5. So the first call out of the Power 6 is basically maximize grip, and this is thanks to the 100% Michelin silica technology. Silica is the chemical compound that is introduced into tires to improve grip in cooler temperatures and wet roads. So the fun fact here is in 1992, Michelin was actually the first company to introduce silica into the tires, and that was a revolutionary thing that they did to improve grip. The second thing that they have is actually the 2CT Plus technology, which is basically harder rubber under the softer rubber to increase rigidity in the turns. The second thing that is worth noting is actually the ride itself. So I noticed that the turn-ins were a little bit sharper. I'm not sure if this is due to the profile or it's just due to the technology that they have, but I felt the bike turning in us a little bit faster, and it also held the corners much more confidently. For the third point, it goes without saying, and we probably all know this already, but Michelin is already so active in MotoGP and motorsports that whatever technology and whatever learnings that they have there, it's already trickling down into the tires that are available commercially. So in terms of confidence, you don't have to worry. It's spick and span, it's on the dot, and in this ride itself, I was completely sold that these tires will be amazing. Lastly, we have the two front sizes, and in this new range as well, there are new sizes for the 140, 150, 160 as well as the 240. So this is good news for the smaller bikes as well as the Divel. At this temperature check over here, I was basically looking out for the fluctuations of the surface temperature between the hotter roads as well as the cooler roads. Now the main thing that I notice here is that the surface temperature of the tires don't really fluctuate as much with the temperature of the road. The temperature is really dependent on your riding style and what you're doing to the tires at that moment. So if you're riding it harder, it would increase temperatures quicker, and if you're riding it slower, it would be slightly slower. So here, with the comparison between the Power 6 and the S22s, I saw that the Power 6 was actually a little bit warmer compared to the S22s. So it definitely holds the temperature a little bit better.
Yeah? That's my brother. Yeah. $27.2, 32.4. $26.5, 28.7. Internal air stays much higher for very long one. I think the air is still warm.
This one, my one.
Your one ah? What was your starting?
36, I think, from your device.
Same. Sorry. $32.5. You pump how much? 32, 34. Okay. Alright, let's check the pressures and the temperatures. Oh, 61.8. 44. 56.8. 66.1. 66.3. 62. Fast. 60. 59.4. 41. 35.